All of us here at Oklahoma Gardening are getting very excited about a special group of visitors that we'll be hosting next week. The Garden Writers Association is holding its annual meeting in Oklahoma City this year, and they've set aside a day to visit our studio gardens. The Garden Writers Association is a professional organization of authors, editors, TV and radio personalities, and many others involved in garden communications. As you can imagine, it's a great honor to have them at our studio gardens. Now, the tour is also going to visit a home of one of our garden ambassadors, Lynn Hughes. And Lynn has been gracious enough to welcome us into her garden for a little sneak preview. Hi, Lynn. Thank you for having us here.
Oh, Kim, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Lynn is a garden ambassador, as I mentioned, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the ambassador program before we start our tour.
Well, certainly. The ambassador program started back in 1993, and there were 12 of us originally, and there are 5 still remaining in the program. We've just completed our 15th year now, so we're real proud of that. It's something that we all enjoy. The ambassadors go through a training period of time, and actually it's the same training. Most people who will be listening to the program are familiar with the term Master Gardener and know about Master Gardeners. Ambassadors go through the same training, but when we finish our training, we Master Gardeners put in their hours at the extension offices in the counties. Ambassadors put in our hours out at the OSU Botanical Garden and Studio Gardens. And we do everything out there from pruning in the springtime. We get the beds ready, we put in the plants, we do the mulching, we do weeding throughout the summer. There's a lot of work to keep up the gardens out there, and sometimes we fall behind, but it's a very enjoyable occupation, and we do enjoy it, or we wouldn't be out there. So, oh, we also, I forget, one of the most important things, we give tours out there. So anyone wanting to give it or come on a tour needs to call the horticulture office and set up a time, and you will be assigned an ambassador to be your tour guide. And we also have tours on the first, or not, we have open houses on the first and third Saturdays of each month, and you can just come out there from 10 o'clock to about 2 o'clock, and there will be ambassadors out there to answer any questions that you have, to tour you around if you want, or just whatever you might want to do.
Excellent. And there's a new class for new ambassadors starting soon?
Yes, we're going to start a new class in January, and they will go through the training that I've talked about, and at the completion of that, they will be official Oklahoma Gardening Ambassadors.
Wonderful. Well, we certainly could not bring the quality programming that we bring or have such beautiful gardens without all the dedicated work of you and the other ambassadors. We certainly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. As I said, we enjoy it or we wouldn't be out there. So, and there are a lot of perks that we get besides that too. So we go on field trips and have a lot of fun.
Well, good. Well, could you show me your gardens here?
Sure, I would be happy to. Where do we need to go?
Let's move over to these beds. Well, when you first bought this house, there wasn't a great deal of landscaping, is that correct?
That's very true. There was no landscaping except foundation plantings in the front of the house.
Okay.
So,
and I see you've added a lot of beds. Can you tell me about sort of the style you like to use in your landscape?
All right. I don't know that I have a style except that I enjoy serpentine lines. So as you look throughout the area, you will see that all of my beds are very curvature.
Yes.
That design appeals to me, and I think it softens the area.
Certainly does.
It just, like I said, it appeals to me. So that's what I've done in all of my beds. I also like island beds out in the middle of an area, and I have a couple of those, plus even my garden area has serpentine lines around it. So
I really like here how you've incorporated a lot of different types of plantings, and you certainly have a lot of different heights incorporated here.
And colors and textures.
Definitely.
I enjoy that. For instance, the cannas here get to be great, big, and tall, but I keep them trimmed back. I don't even let them bloom because they're so tall, because I simply like the color and the texture and how it adds right there in that particular area.
And the large leaves here with the fine,
large leaf,
beautiful.
And it
Absolutely.
just kind of adds to the attractiveness of the area, in my opinion.
I would have to agree. Wonderful. You have a lot of Oklahoma proven plants.
I do.
A lot of variety of plant material throughout your garden.
I try to do that to keep a lot of different things going, and just adds to the general overall appeal of it.
Okay. I notice you have some sweet potato vines
Oh
growing
my
back
goodness,
here.
yes. I have a lot of sweet potato vines this year all over. I tell you, I lost so many things last winter, and I had a lot of open spaces that I was going to have to fill, and I didn't know how I was going to do that in a short time. So in May, I bought one sweet potato vine. What's the color of this one?
This is the Marguerite.
The Marguerite.
Yes.
I bought one Marguerite sweet potato vine, planted it in an area, and of course they grow very rapidly. Well, I thought, goodness, you know, they're so bright and colorful, and I have a lot of open spaces that I need to fill. Why don't I just take cuttings and put in these spaces? So I started out in June taking cuttings, and they root so quickly. I just put them in a little pot, I put a plastic bag over them and put them in the shade, and in 10 days they're ready to set out again.
Wonderful.
So every place I had an open space, I put a sweet potato vine. I've got them all over.
Oh, it looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Should we go take a look at your border here?
All right.
Well, you've created just a beautiful border here. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got started on this?
Well, thank you for the compliment, and yes, this border we started because when we first moved here, we were having trouble with, there's a drainage ditch right behind it, and the water was coming down. There's a big slope here. The water was coming down, going under the house, and that's not good. So we knew we had to do something about that. So we had to raise this area.
Okay.
That's one reason it's here. The second reason is I just wanted a privacy area. I wanted a screen.
I like for the screen how you've used a variety of plants. You have the really tall grasses,
Yes.
you have some shrubs, and this trellis with the clematis is just beautiful.
Thank you. I really enjoy this. It's kind of losing its flowers now. It was just absolutely magnificent a couple of weeks ago, but it does very well here. It screens the area. It's sweet autumn clematis, and so it has a very delightful fragrance, and just the beauty and the fragrance and the screen, it just fills all of those
Working
needs.
very well. We have a lot of other interesting plants here. Now you were talking about filling in with
Yes.
your sweet potato
That's-
vine. We discussed earlier you could do the same thing with the sedum, and you mentioned you cut your sedum back.
I do. I cut it back because if you don't cut it back, it grows tall and then it begins to fall over.
Right.
And so you've got a big open space in the middle with all of these branches lying down to the side. So if you
Yeah.
cut it back in, say, July, it will be a much shorter plant and also bloom and not fall open like that.
It looks beautiful like this, a nice dense clump. It's fabulous. We also have this really attractive plant here. Can you tell me about this?
I love this plant. I became familiar with this plant only about 3 years ago. It's called a Magilla perilla. And
It's a fun name.
that's a fun name to remember and to say. It has all of these lovely shades of
beautiful.
pink and burgundy and cream and green, and they blend together just beautifully and make a very stunning display.
Excellent, excellent. And then you've incorporated some ground cover in. It's just very well thought out in my mind.
Well, you're very gracious to say that. Thank you. Actually, I just stick them and they happen. The Lord blesses with the way they come out.
So you've incorporated a lot of evergreen into the border too.
Yes, that way I have pretty things in the wintertime. It's not just all dead branches out here, dead shrubs and whatnot. I have the small Yopon holly and the tall junipers. They have kind of a bluish green color,
Yeah, they're
and
very pretty.
it adds to the color throughout the winter.
Yeah. And there's a lot of height with all the different plants. Here I see you've let your cannas grow up and
yes,
flower.
I'm letting my cannas flower here. Cannas do very well for us here, and you're supposed to dig up your cannas in the wintertime and take them in, but if they don't live through the winter, they don't grow here. So these do very well and are attractive in the summer, and I don't have to do much to them except keep them watered.
Right. Well, thank you very much for having us here. You have a beautiful landscape.
You're very gracious. Thank you for coming. I have enjoyed it.